Did you know there's a magic number? It's 3. Yes, 3 is the magic number. In fact, there's even a song about it. In this skill focus activity called the Power of 3, we are going to take a look at how putting 3 words and 3 phrases into our writing helps transform the quality of our writing. But it's not just in writing. We see the power of 3 across all different art forms. So actually, our eyes, our ears, and our brains love 3s. If you take a look at the orange description here of this activity, you might even spot a couple times that I've used the power of 3 in the description for this activity. Can you find them? So as we get started with the power of 3, I just want to show you that we see it in architecture, we see it in art, and we hear it in speeches or in songs, and we certainly read it in the written word. So the power of 3 is all about rhythm and balance. And even though 3 is an odd number, what it creates is something called dynamic symmetry, which is what our eyes and our ears and our brains love about it. Here's a few more examples of it. We've got different logos from companies. We've got famous quotations and even some memes with some really good advice. So the power of 3 is everywhere. And once you start to look for it, you will see it in so many of your favorite speeches, songs, pieces of art, and even stories and quotations. So what makes it so powerful? Well, the way to do it well is to have 3 words or phrases or sentences that are all about the same length and have a similar structure. So we can't start one with an adjective and then start the next one with a noun or change our verb tense. We really have to keep the phrasing of it the same for all 3, if it's words, if it's phrases, or if it's sentences. The second key piece to making this a really powerful technique is that the longest word or phrase typically goes at the end because it just kind of lets the rhythm kind of extend out rather than kind of breaking up the rhythm in the middle of it. So, or the beat of it is a better way of saying it. So there's a beat, there's a cadence to it, and then it just keeps kind of lingering on that last one when we put the longest word or phrase at the end. And then lastly, as we've talked about, there is this rhythm. You want to work on rearranging. Sometimes words have more syllables than others. And so you just want to kind of play around with that and use what we call your writer's ear. The way that it sounds is really important. Even though the words might just be read silently, in our brains, we're hearing it. And so we want to make sure that there is this cadence and rhythm to the words that we're putting down. And certainly the best way to do this is to try it out loud, right? Read it out loud and try the different phrasing different ways and see which one sounds really good. And we like to give bonus points for alliteration. So if you can make all the words start with the same sound or 3 phrases start with the same sound, then that just adds more sophistication to it. So we're going to get started at the word level here. Besides cats and dogs, the animal shelter has blank, blank, and even blank. So for families, these sentences are fabulous to use with your children and teachers. This is a great place to start because it is at the word level and it's about nouns. And you see here, we've got 3 pictures to help support students in brainstorming with this one, just to show them samples of it. You are more than welcome, as always, to change this up, to pull in different pictures or have them brainstorm other animals that animal shelters have. Even if you do a little research online, you'll be surprised at some of the animals that shelters keep to help rehome and find them a better living situation. So here's our brainstorming design. This is what we love to encourage everyone to use anytime you're just getting your thoughts down, you're brainstorming. What are other animals that might be at the shelter? Well, we've got lizards and pigs and rabbits. What about guinea pigs, right? That's definitely an animal that ends up at shelters sometimes. And so you can brainstorm maybe chickens and roosters, depending on where the shelter is as well. And then students just work on filling these in. They can try them in different orders. They can play around with, with what word goes where. So this one says, besides cats and dogs, the animal shelter has rabbits, lizards, and even pigs. So notice with that and even pigs, that one becomes kind of a 3-syllable phrase. And so it's at the end. It certainly could be even stronger, or another way of putting rabbits at the end, or lizards, because those are 2-syllable words. So just another way to modify this to make it an even stronger sentence. Right, here's another one. This one is using adjective. So we're just showing you lots of different sentence structures that use the power of 3 in this activity. Certainly you can write about anything here. So it doesn't have to be just on blueberries, but those certainly do look delicious in those pictures. So blueberries are only picked when they are blank, blank, and blank. So when are blueberries picked? What are the qualities of blueberries when they are picked? So here are three just to get your thoughts going. Parents and teachers, you could use this as a reference when you are working with your children or with your students to just say, hey, do you think they're sweet? Do you think they're juicy? Do you think they're plump? And then remember, we always love to replace boring color words. We don't just want to say when they're really blue. How about when they're cobalt blue, when they're navy blue? Have students think of a more descriptive color shade for blue. And then you can fill them in. So blueberries are only picked when they are sweet, plump, and juicy. So notice juicy's at the end. Why? Yeah, because it's 2 syllables and the others are 1 syllable, even though they're virtually the same, exactly the same amount of letters. Isn't that interesting? Pizza is best with blank, blank, and blank. Now we're moving into adjective and noun phrases. And so this will be the next level up. So notice we did nouns, then we did adjectives, and now we're combining those into adjective noun phrases with this sentence structure. And we love to give picture prompts just because it helps us all visualize what it is that we're studying and working on. So let's think about how do we like our pizza? Well, spicy pepperoni is all fantastic on it. We like it with crispy crust, maybe gooey cheese, maybe sweet pineapple, right? Whatever tickles your fancy when it comes to pizza. You can have students brainstorm this. And the goal here is to just jot them down in the bubbles with an adjective and a noun combination. Spicy being the adjective, pepperoni being the noun, crispy being the adjective, crust being the noun. And then you can see, here we go with our sentence. Pizza is best with spicy pepperoni, gooey cheese, and a crispy crust. Blank, blank, blank puddles make for a memorable afternoon outside. So this one's back to the adjective level. I will go a little bit faster through this one just so you see all the steps here, but just to show you that adjectives can go in the front of the sentence. That is a perfect place for them. We love them there to start off a sentence this way. It's just a really unique way for sentences to be formed. So deep, splashy, muddy puddles make for a memorable afternoon outside. The lake was blank, blank, and blank all day long. It was cool, it was clear, it was calm. So this is a great example of that alliteration we talked about at the beginning that would earn you some bonus points. So here's a sample of that. But do you hear that power of 3? Clear, cool, and calm. Right? It just helps the sentence flow, and it's got this part of rhythm to it that just makes our ears perk up. It makes our brain think a little bit more, and it just helps the writing so much. Now, you don't want to put this in every single sentence that you're writing, but to sprinkle it here and there into your writing is one of the most masterful techniques that writers use. And I guarantee you, now that you know this, you are going to start to see it all over the place when you read, when you listen, when you look at art. So here's one on dogs. They dig, they drool, they devour. Dogs blank, blank, and blank. Back to our verbs here. Dogs dig huge holes, drool on clothes, and devour their dinners. So we have verbs, and then we finished it out with additional information. They dig what? They drool where? They devour what? Right? And added more here. Over winter vacation, visitors to our town, blank, blank, and blank. So the big setup here, just to take away from this activity, is you're always going to want to provide those 3 blanks. You decide where they go. We are also huge advocates of the Oxford comma, that comma before and. So it's not required, but in our world, it is required because it just lends itself to making sentences more clear. So we encourage you to always put that comma in front of and because it is the most clear way that you can put together a list of information. So for this one in particular, what did visitors do? Well, they built a snowman, they went skiing, they drank hot chocolate. And so you can see that being brought in. And I bet you could guess that drank lots of hot chocolate would go at the end because that is that longer phrase. Here's one on Legos. So you've got lots of ones in here that you can just use anytime. You can pull any of these up for samples to work through. They definitely are painful. I would agree with that one. And so fun, totally worth it. And lastly, here's one on baseball players. So what did they do? They got up early, they worked hard, they won the championship. So you, of course, will brainstorm more than 3. That's one big takeaway from this. You don't just want to brainstorm 3, you want to give students choice. So that's why we have 5 bubbles on there to just encourage you to add more. You can use these, but we want to make sure that students are adding more to this and really exploring the power of 3 so that their sentences develop this beautiful rhythm and cadence. And you will be so impressed as their parents, as their teachers with their work. So we welcome you to exploring the power of 3. It is one of our favorite techniques to teach students because of just what it does to add sophistication into their writing. So we hope you enjoy it. And as always, happy writing.